Hello, my name is Julia Babcock, and I work at Portland State University at the National Policy Consensus Center, and I am a project coordinator for the Oregon Solutions Program, which has projects designated by the governor for community solutions. And so I'm here today to talk about the Lents Collaborative project. So the Oregon Solutions designation really came because of a number of reasons. The Johnson Creek floodplain area had been seeing nuisance flooding for, I don't know, maybe decades even, and there had been some improvements around the Foster Natural Area where they had gotten some flood storage and over time bought homes and alleviated some of the flooding, but they wanted to take a bigger picture look at whether they could make similar gains with flood storage through more soft and green infrastructure, both in the industrial areas around Lents and also residential buyout programs to kind of replicate that success, and also see if there were some other floodplain methodologies that could buy them flood storage on one specific property, if they could make it a park. They're basically just trying to put everything on the table with a large collaborative group of stakeholders to alleviate these nuisance flooding that was happening in the community. This project was a little bit longer than some of ours. Some of ours go like 6 months to a year, but this one was multiple years because it was addressing kind of a systems-wide issue, right? Like we were in part of the watershed, but we were looking at federal programs that could assist. We were looking at kind of mid-range programs, maybe around watershed management, and then we were looking at the localized context, both from like an engineering studies and also social programs. How could we alleviate costs that were coming today from these floodings? So I think in that regard, we've gotten feedback that it was challenging to come up with a body long-term, like an organization long-term that could carry all of these things. So we've found some solutions in terms of the flood insurance savings program at the city level. And so there's been some tangible benefits to residents directly, which I think was always at the forefront of the project. But how these organizations continue contributing to the project was really why Oregon Solutions came in, and we worked with them to come up with a declaration of cooperation so that they could be accountable to each other and the community going forward. Yeah, so something that I give credit to Representative Reardon, who was one of the conveners, and Michelle Rudd, who is a sustainability planning commissioner for the city. They were dual conveners, but they, from the beginning, really brought forth the community voices. And so this project benefited actually from PSU students going out and talking to the community about their concerns before we had either public or private sector engagement. We really wanted to hear about, okay, we know it's nuisance flooding, but what does that actually look like at the household level? And so Representative Reardon in particular, he did these profiles of folks that were really most at risk and had them at every meeting so that we didn't get caught in philosophical questions or about maybe federal programs that weren't as tangible. And so we kept saying, what can the city do right now for people that are being displaced, or where affordability is an issue that's really aggravating the natural resource risks that were kind of the underlying issue, but what was really surfacing first, and how could the city address that? So I think I talked a little bit about the kind of up and down of capacity in the city and when they can focus on neighborhood issues and how to spread those resources around. The city was sort of the natural project manager because they had so many bureaus involved that kind of touch on different parts of watershed management. But the future is really about raising awareness and giving people better choices, both business owners, residents, renters, to be aware of the true costs of flooding and to be better consumers of housing when they can be. So there's a House bill that Representative Reardon presented this session. It's House Bill 2312, and it's a disclosure policy because we're finding that a lot of folks who were going to purchase a home could purchase a home in Lentz because it was more affordable, but then they were later paying the cost of insurance, they were paying for the flooding, they were paying for all these things that they couldn't see in the price of the house. And so they are creating a bill where people have to disclose early on, like how much has flood insurance cost you, how much has flood damage caused you financial hardship, so that people can make better decisions about where they live, and you know, they can find ways to mitigate it themselves or work with the city to mitigate it, but just to know up front what some of the true costs are, I think is a good place to start. And that was really a result of these conversations, both with the community and then with partners saying, you know, what is really at risk right now.